Commontary. This is Mike. By the time this airs, I will have gotten married. I am still out of town, though, so I will not be available to record this podcast. This episode is pre-recorded so that you can continue to have the lovely content that you enjoy so much from us without any interruption of service, but I can also go and live my life as well.
People have been commentating about our silky smooth dulcet tones, so hello, this is Adrian Guarzales coming to you from Color Commentary.
I can't wait until we get like proper dynamic mics and I can have them right up and I can just whisper in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough of that silliness. Today, again, another pre-recorded episode. We're not going to have an F&M report.
Aren't they all technically pre-recorded, Mike?
All right, we're gonna cut the sexy voice out right now.
All right.
All right. So no F&M report. We're just gonna dive right into a deck tech, and this deck tech is from a local player who is actually one of the managers at our LGS.
Our very own Logan White.
And Logan, I know, listens to this show, and he sent this in. It is a brew. It is blue-white. And we're referring to it as a non-Ristic Tron build. There is the blue-white Ristic Tron build that uses Ristic Circle.
Yes.
And is kind of a fringe deck. And this was Logan. I think Logan threw this together right when we started playing Pauper at Pat's Games.
Yes.
So he's had this list kicking around for a while.
And it is available on loan if you're ever in the area. You too can play this deck.
Yeah, his version's actually really gorgeous. It's like all original printings and foils.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable to hold in my hands. I'm just gonna say that. Like, he's got the promo cap size that's like $50. That's more than most of the Pauper decks I own. So
it's pretty cool.
Still, and
young money.
Thanks to Logan for sending this in, and thanks to him for continuing to support our local playgroup. But let's dive into this list. So, we start with our lands, the basis of any good Tron deck, right?
Mm-hmm. 4 of each.
Yep, 4 of the Trons. Like, can't get there without it. Then 2 plains, 2 islands, 3 tranquil coves, and a 1 singleton copy of Haunted Fengraf.
And that's very common in Tron lists, as I believe we've discussed before. It allows them to recur their threats.
100%.
Without sacrificing a spell slot.
Yep. Because if you don't need to recur the threat, it still makes mana.
Exactly.
Then, when we look down at the artifact package, the first thing on the list he sent over is one of the out-of-the-ordinary things. We got 4 Azorius Signets. And this is because you're fixing into those 2 colors, and we'll see more later that there are some spells where you really do need to hit both colors.
Yes.
We've also got 4 Prophetic Prisms. Pretty stock.
Yeah, Tron likes to run a Prophetic Prism. It's a colorless deck that needs colored mana. Or it's a colored deck that runs extremely powerful colorless lands, and therefore needs a way to filter the mana.
Yep. We got 4 Expedition Map. Make sure you get that Tron Online ASAP.
Or, get a utility land or get a colored source.
Yeah, that's actually very fair. This is a list that runs basics. And while, the Rugtron lists have kind of stopped doing that as much, it definitely can help you out. If you just need that colored mana, you can get it. Mm-hmm. Make sure you hit your land drops. All right, so let's dive into the instant package, because
this is where it gets interesting.
This is a control deck. This is a hard control deck at that. Mm-hmm. So first off, I'm going to talk about them a little out of order as they're printed here, but we've got a nice suite of X-cost counterspells, which are really good in Tron because you're going to be outclassing your opponent in terms of mana production as soon as Tron is online.
We have the OG one in Power Sync.
Yes, Power Sync is interesting because it does have... It's an X counterspell, so it counters a spell unless they pay X. It's a blue and X. It does have an interesting bit of text that comes up sometimes. It does say that if you can't pay X, you have to tap all your lands, and then you empty all the mana out of your mana pool. So it effectively does say, this is the last spell you're casting this turn. I like that. A little bit of spice in there. We've got 4 copies of Overrule. Overrule is X, a white, and a blue. Counters a spell unless they pay X, you gain X life.
Pretty sweet.
I mean, it helps you stay alive a little bit longer.
It's 2 parts of a Sphinx's rev, half a Sphinx's rev, and then a different ability, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind
counter.
of...
You don't draw cards, I guess.
I don't want to call it a Pauper Sphinx's Revelation, but I can see the somewhat comparison there.
It's a blue-white X spell that gains you life and then does something else.
I mean, so really the thing is that I'd like to look at this and say, it's a power sink that I pay 1 white more and I'm going to gain a bunch of life.
Yeah. Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps this deck survive until it can start getting its win cons online. He's also got in here a 1 of Logic Knot, which is X, blue, counter spell unless they pay X, and it also has Delve.
Yeah, so you can delve your graveyard to make sure they cannot counter the spell.
Importantly, this can also prove useful with Haunted Fengraf, because Haunted Fengraf is 3 sacrifice it, get a creature at random.
Correct.
If you want a very specific creature out, Delve spells can help you, cull your graveyard down to what you want. Then the rest of his instant suite, he's got a 1 of Capsize. Of course, amazing in any sort of big mana deck.
Yeah, the Capsize lock is real, guys.
Oh yeah, super real.
We did miss an X spell, we missed Condescend.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's alright, it's a 1 of.
Yeah, he's got a 1 of Condescend, counter unless they pay X, scry 2.
Yeah, pretty good card.
Yeah, sometimes, you just use it as 1 blue, scry 2. Mm-hmm. I've definitely seen that happen. It's not usually the best use of it, but if you feel like you got the game on lock and you just want a little bit more card fixing,
if you're a little desperate,
yeah, it can happen. Alright, we've also got 2 Forbidden Alchemies, kind of a Pauper dig through time almost.
Combos with Logic Knot as well.
Yep, fills up your graveyard. That is the big distinction between it and dig. It does go to the graveyard. It's only 5 cards and you get 1 of them. It does have Flashback, which does involve black mana, but we've got 4 Prophetic Prisms. I feel like this deck can handle that. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be flashing it back the next turn, but, maybe you will. And that about covers the instants.
Oh, you missed an important one. 3 memory lapse.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That was a memory lapse of my own, I guess.
There you go. Counter target spell, put it back on top of the opponent's library.
For 1 and a blue. So it is a counter that has the Chittering Rats effect. Mm-hmm. So early game, that can just be a time walk.
Yes.
I don't know. I like it a lot. I think, this deck really just wants to survive until it can start doing Tron stuff.
Right. It's sort of like a worse version of Remand, because although the card goes back on top of their library, you don't get to draw a card.
Hoo boy, if that card drew if Memory Lapse drew a card, hoo boy. Oh, that'd be sweet. We got 4 sorceries in here. 1 of 4C. Scry, what is it? 4, draw 2?
Something like that. It's
it's
scry 4. It costs 4. You scry 4. You draw 2. It's called 4C. Wizards is very clever.
The woman on it also has 4 eyes, so
Wine times
4C.
watch time unwind. Best flavor text.
And then we got 3 compulsive research,
which is just a good spell.
Yeah, it's just very solid. It's consistently played in decks that want that draw 3 for 3 effect. Enchantments, we've got a pair of Journey to Nowheres, just solid early game removal.
Yeah, take care of problem.
Yeah, take care of something before. Take care of an aggressive creature before it becomes a problem. And then our creature suite, how this deck actually wins. We got 4 Muldrifters.
That's great. This deck wants to draw a lot of cards. Muldrifter is a great way to do that, and a lot of Tron decks, even the blue and the Izzet ones, just beat down Muldrifters sometimes.
Yep. Interesting. If this deck does get to the point where it needs more counters, but I've seen someone piloting a deck similar to this where they capsize their own Muldrifter just to get another draw 2 out of it.
Heck yeah. And then we have 2 Ulamog's Crushers to really end the game.
Oh yeah. Ulamog's Crusher, as soon as you can get that thing down, get it down and start cracking in for extreme damage and those Annihilator triggers.
Yeah, Ulamog's Crusher is... If you don't have a Doomblade or a Journey of your own, that card is almost always going to be a 4 for 1. Because you're probably going to have to spend 2 spells killing it, burn spell creature or 2 creatures, and it's going to get to make you sacrifice 2 of your permanents before you even have a chance to block it. So, barring... And I mean, there's good removal in Pauper, but I would say that spot removal like Doomblade is actually fewer and far between than cards like Edict. And to that, I'm a little surprised that there are not some copies of Seagate Oracle on this deck, because that seems like a card I would really want.
Yeah, I think the 4 signets are kind of crowding out other creatures. Yeah, it's a little bit light on the board, and I have noticed I've played against this deck a couple times. Logan wasn't piling it because he's working during our FNMs and trying to make sure everything goes off without a hitch. But someone borrowed the deck from him, and they were piloting against me. And I've been on my big mono-red heroic kick, and it just doesn't have that many answers for the early game.
You know what I think I would do? Just to tweak the list a little, I think I would cut and overrule, maybe cut the signets, and add Pristine Talisman and some amount of the Seagate Oracles. Because I think this deck could use Pristine Talisman.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Azorius Signet is bad, but I think Pristine Talisman may be an effect the deck wants a little more than being able to always make white and blue mana.
I think the big thing with Azorius Signet is a lot of your early answers, the journeys and the memory lapses, you want to be able to hit those as quickly as possible.
That's true, and I do see that as well. Maybe 4 signets isn't the answer, and I actually don't think 4 overrules is really the best either.
Yeah, I can see the argument there.
Okay.
Let's touch on the sideboard real quickly. We've got a pair of fadeaways. Fadeaway is a favorite for the blue decks that kind of want to dirtle a bit and want an answer to elves.
And he is low on the board, so fadeaway makes you sacrifice your... It's basically a one-time tabernacle.
Interestingly, it's a little different.
Because tabernacle is destroy, not sacrifice.
No. Fadeaway is the player sacrifices a permanent for each creature they control. It's not sacrificing the creature necessarily.
Oh, okay.
For example, if you're playing Boggles and someone tries to get you with a Fadeaway, you can pop one of your enchantments instead. Which really is a lot different, especially for that deck. So Fadeaway, it does sometimes get a little muddy against elves because they do have Priest of Titania, which should just save everything. But it's definitely there for the swarm decks. Goblins doesn't like it at all.
You could have to sack... no matter what, you're sacking goblins, and if you sack them all to one of the... Plus the sack dudes.
Sletter and Mog Raider.
Yeah, then you're probably doing this on your turn. The Tron player is probably doing that on their own turn.
Yep.
And so you force them to sack a bunch of goblins that can't translate into damage.
Yep. 3 Repeals, another early game answer.
And Repeal is a great card. That's another card you can just cycle for blue and draw a card if you need to.
Actually, you can't. It needs a valid target.
Oh.
Yes, it does need to return a creature.
Never mind.
And it got a little worse with the rules change that came around with Shadows over Innistrad. It no longer is just blue Bounce at Delver, it's blue 1 Bounce at Delver.
Yeah.
Because now the converted mana cost carries over to the back.
I'm a little shocked that wasn't a rule before.
That was kind of the gist of what Wizards said in the statement. They were like, it is unintuitive that the backside doesn't have a mana cost on it.
Completely agree,
Yeah, like... It just led to weird corner cases like being able to remand a flipped card for 1 mana. Like, that was one of the ones I think they actually explicitly cited. But, Repeal is still a good card, still worth playing, especially in a big mana deck. Mm-hmm. We got 2 Echoing Truths.
That's a great card also. I've been blown up by that card with Affinity several times.
Yeah. Lets you get in an attack or lets you set a player back a huge amount. Mm-hmm. Worth noting, it hits any permanent besides a land.
Yep.
So you can... It's great against tokens, specifically, because you can just bounce them and they vanish. But it does have other uses. If they're doing some shenanigans with, like, artifacts, you can bounce all those artifacts to their hand and then counter them on the way back down.
Exactly.
2 relics,
Seems good. This deck doesn't care about... I mean, this deck kind of does care about its graveyard, but we don't want to play black for Nile Spellbomb here, I don't think.
Also, Logic Knot and Haunted Fengraph I don't think are enough of a presence to care about
Yeah.
This, especially because you're probably popping Relic fairly early. Dust to Dust. This is I believe this is a Pauper in paper exclusive. It is.
I think I've seen it on Moto. I'm not 100%.
Oh, really? I didn't know if they'd released it there. I know Ashes to Ashes isn't on Moto.
I am not 100%. I feel like I've run up against it before, but I don't play. I mean, Mono White is a little underrepresented on Moto.
But it's 1, 2 white, exile, 2 artifacts.
Yeah, very good, very strong card.
Oh yeah,
Against Affinity, very strong.
We've got a 1 copy of Curse of the Bloody Tome. This is, for the Teachings matchup, any sort of other slow, grindy deck. Just
mill them out.
Mill them out, have that alternate win con. So if you can't stick the Crusher, you can at least stick this and it'll eventually get them if you can stay alive. I think that's why I like Overrule so much. Overrule gives you the time for that to really tick in.
Gives you the tempo.
Dismantling Blow. Dismantling Blow is 2 and a white, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So it's a bad disenchant, but it does also just have... I think it's
kicker.
It has a kicker of 2 and a blue, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, so destroy your artifact, draw 2 cards.
Yeah, and in a big mana deck, that's 6 mana, you can hit that pretty easily.
And then with Azorius Signet, actually, I can see that being a thing because you can get the white and the blue very easily.
And then just 2 negate, nice, simple to the point, helps you win your counter wars, helps you take care of Teamer Battle Rages, Flings, that sort of stuff.
Negate's a very good sideboard card.
Oh yeah, definitely a good one. And in a big mana deck like this, you definitely prefer that over Dispel because Dispel's a little narrower and it's no easier for you to hit.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it still has that colored pip, and that's really important in this deck where, most of the mana you're producing is going to be colorless.
So this is a fun Tron deck. Definitely more of a hard control deck. Way less reliant on creatures. If you like counter spells and you like dirtily blue stuff, try it out.
Yeah. I definitely think that I've played the Rhystic Tron version that runs the Rhystic Circle. Rhystic Circle is one we should probably explain because it's a bit of a weird card.
It's a circle of protection, right?
It's a circle of protection for 1 and 2 white. And it comes from Prophecy. And one of Prophecy was a set that actually hit right around when I started playing. One of Prophecy's big mechanics was Rhystic Magic, which were cards where it had an effect, but other players could pay mana to negate that effect. The circle is interesting because it says 1, choose a source, prevent all damage that source would deal unless its controller pays 1 generic. So, with a Tron deck, you can, one set of Tron represents 7 activations of this. And worth noting, it doesn't target, it doesn't care what color it is, it just cares that you have more mana than your opponent. And you're in a Tron deck. And so you just kind of fog every turn, hope they don't have Flaring Pain, and, go about your life.
Do you think this deck would be improved with Rhystic Circle in it?
I think maybe. I don't want to say that this is just a worse version of Rhystic Tron. I think that the circle is very powerful, and once they can get it online, it is very hard to deal with. The double white in that casting cost, though, can be brutal for the Tron deck to hit. Because you want that to drop turn 3, and then you also want Tron online really quickly.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in this weird position of you want this online, but you also need colored mana very quickly. I think this or Rhystic Tron, they're both kind of, the bridesmaid, never the bride of the Tron variants.
Yeah, Rogue Tron is just so powerful and has so many toolbox options.
Yeah,
not toolbox. They just have a wide array of options.
Yeah, I think this is a fine deck if you want to take it out for a spin on the town online. You'll probably have a fine time with it if you like
maybe even at your local meta.
Yeah,
It seems great for an FNM.
Yeah, just as please do yourself a favor. Try and counter the Kiln Fiend before it gets bad, or the Nivix Cyclops, or whatever fast threat they get.
Yeah, better to counter the threat than... I don't know, yeah, there's no way for them to deal with it. Better to counter the threat than a Journey to Nowhere later.
Yeah. But, yeah, if you try this list out, maybe let us know what you thought of it.
Wasn't there someone kind of famous recently who we talked to who liked Tron? Someone from the girlfriend bracket, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
We'll give a little shout-out to?
Yeah. Chris from the girlfriend bracket actually followed us on Twitter. And we got a little starstruck, people who are much more famous than we are following us. And she had mentioned that she was looking at Tron as a list for Pauper.
So, if you're listening to this episode, do it.
Yeah, no, go for it. Play a Tron list. They're fun, and they're also a very unique experience in Pauper, I feel. There's nothing that really ramps quite the same way they do, except maybe elves.
And one of the great things about Tron and Pauper is it's very similar to Tron and Modern. You have the map, you have the lance, obviously. You even have ancient stirrings.
Yeah, you've got a lot of the same tools that Tron in Modern does, and your payloads are a little different. You're not Mindslaver locking people. You're not hitting that Karn. Like, you're definitely doing smaller things, but you got to remember we're a smaller format. Like, not a lot of the stuff we do is big and super splashy. Like, most of what we're doing in Pauper as a format is fairly minimal advantage. Like, there's a lot of very grindy situations you can find yourself in.
Except if you're playing one lance by.
Yes. We didn't need to return to it.
Sorry, Mike has expressly forbidden me from discussing the deck that shall not be named.
I'm traumatized by my attempt to comprehend, a combo deck that has more than 3 parts in it.
Did you glimpse the unthinkable? But
I don't remember what Glimpse the Unthinkable does.
Mill 10 for blue-black.
Oh, yep. Okay, yeah. No, I don't play Mill.
Me either. Mill is a garbage archetype.
Is it?
And well, I guess it won a Grand Prix recently, and
did it win that?
Or a top 8'd maybe. It did really well. Maybe I'm wrong. It did really well. And then you did play the Turbo Fog deck.
Yeah, I did play Turbo Fog for a while to see if it was worth it. Spoiler alert: unless you're that one dude online who occasionally 5-0s with it, it's not.
Yeah, unless you're that specific dude, and you know who you are.
I actually know who he is, but
I think I played against him.
Really?
Well, he beat me, and he was playing
Bant Turbo Fog.
He was playing Simic Turbo Fog.
Okay. There's a guy who works for Magic Gathering Strat who uses the handle Prerecord.
Oh, it wasn't the guy I played.
Yeah, he has been a big proponent of Bant Turbo Fog as one of his favorite decks in the format, and I've watched him play. He's really, really good with the deck, and it's kind of a testament to, sometimes format knowledge is more important than playing the top tier deck.
For all you brewers out there, we remember you from last episode. You're still here.
Yeah. So our next topic is kind of an interesting one. All right, so we're going to talk about Standard Pauper. So Standard Pauper is I think arguably the cheapest format you could play.
I don't even know if that's an argument. These decks are like $2.
Yeah. So Standard Pauper does see some play online. I think first off, we would be remiss if we don't shout out PDC Magic.
Yeah, they are the ones who organize totally player-run tournaments with prize support.
Yep.
And there's a website, pdcmagic.com. You can submit your list, check out the other lists, see when they're playing. It's a great community.
They do one every Sunday and Monday.
Yes, and there's also Classic Pauper on there as well.
There is also Classic Pauper, the whole history of Magic, but Standard Pauper is one of the things that they pride themselves on. And, it is, without a doubt, the bare minimum of money you can spend and still play Magic.
But let me tell you about the Standard Pauper deck I played and top 8'd in one of these tournaments with. I've only done it once. My deck was Benthic Giant, Nimbus Naiad, 4 Grey Merchant, 4 Treasure Cruise, Stab Wound.
Okay.
The deck was sweet.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess we kind of discussed this beforehand, and I think while it might not have the raw power that Classic Pauper has. Standard Pauper does have, the appeal of not only its price point, but also the fact that it is a rotating format. And while that is not my cup of tea, I can understand someone else liking it.
Well, just last episode, we were discussing brewing, and I believe, like you said earlier, the format gets solved quickly, but there's always going to be brewing at standard, and it's dirt cheap.
Yes.
So very easy to brew.
I actually, out of curiosity, I went to eBay, and I looked for complete common sets of recent releases. I saw someone on there who was selling a playset of every single card in Oath of the Gatewatch for every single common for $12.99, no shipping.
Yep, easy.
Like, it's even cheaper online. Like most bulk commons online are a cent
or less than
a
fraction of a cent. Yeah,
like you might get to the point where I didn't have the time to do it all out, but you could probably buy an entire set, like 4 copies of each, and there's like 180 commons in a big set. Like, what? That's 180 times 4 is 720. So it's $7.20 to buy a full set's worth of commons for Standard Pauper online. That is absurd. It costs more to register your account than to buy all those commons. And there's free bots on there, too, that just give away dirt commons.
Yep, and then you, too, can play at the PDC Magic tournaments and win cool prizes.
And that's the thing. Since they're prize-supported, maybe this is an option for someone who, doesn't have a whole ton of disposable income, but has a MitGo account and wants to grind into another format, whether it be Pauper or something else.
I don't know what the price support is, but I do know the tournaments are free.
Yes.
And I want to say I got like $4 of store credit for top 8 that event.
And that $4 of credit,
that's basically another Standard Pauper.
Yeah, that's another set worth of Standard Pauper cards.
Yeah.
So I think it's the kind of thing where if you're really ambitious and you're willing to grind a bunch, you could grind into a format you really want to play. Or, who knows, maybe you just like this format enough that you just want to have this self-sustaining, standard collection of, Standard Pauper. And that's your format, and that's your jam. I think, personally, I like powerful interactions. I like that. It's part of the reason why both of us enjoy Legacy, is we like playing with powerful cards. And that's part of the appeal to Classic Pauper for us. We get all the blue cantrips, we get super cool, we get Delver, we get real counter spells, we get Daze. Obviously, again, I'm listing all blue cards, but those are just the go-tos for absurdly powerful Pauper cards. Yeah, Bolt. But not everyone is intent on being able to brainstorm in their format. Some people just want to play Magic.
I would actually argue this is maybe a conversation for a different day that Brainstorm is not very good in Pauper, but I digress.
I think it's fine in some decks. I think it's not good in a lot of decks.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, we can return to is Brainstorm good in Pauper. But not everyone wants that experience. Not everyone wants to play Legacy, even if they could afford it. Not everyone, wants... For example, here's another side example. I enjoy Powerful Magic. I also enjoy cubing. I own several cubes.
I love cube.
I don't own a powered cube. I would not proxy up a powered cube, and I have no interest in a powered cube. Peasant is my sweet spot. Because Uncommon is right the point where you start getting really powerful cards, and you get really powerful limited play, but it doesn't generate a degenerate combo format.
Well, and that's actually interesting that you said that, because we were just discussing the other night during our EMA draft that we really hate when rares totally warp the format, because either you open the bomb rare and you win all your games, or you don't open the bomb rare and you don't win anything.
So I think everyone has a power level where they like their formats at. So I don't think, Standard is not for me because I don't want to spend $600 on a deck to have it rotate in 6 months. That seems like a poor investment in my mind. I get that there are people who love Standard and will play it till the end of their Magic career.
That might also be because Standard is the highest prizing format in Magic.
Yeah.
If you want to play PPTQs, you're probably playing Standard. Even on Moto, the standard league's price a lot better.
But I don't know.
But I don't like standard either. So
I don't like standard. It's not for me. But at the end of the day, like, there's plenty of things that aren't for me. Like,
I also sorry, go ahead.
But I think Standard Pauper. We're talking about this because someone asked if we thought it was necessary.
And I think it's great, actually, because it also provides an avenue for all these cards to be played that wouldn't be played otherwise in a constructed environment. So I think it definitely has a place. I think if you're new to Magic, it's great. If you're on a budget, it's great. If you like Standard and Pauper, it's great. And like, yeah, you're not going to be like combo killing anyone. You're not going to be, doing a whole bunch of other stuff, I guess. But like, it's a format with a place, and it used to have official recognition from Wizards.
Yeah, they used to have a filter for it on Mitgo.
Yeah, it just doesn't anymore, and I'm not saying that like this is going to have the same appeal as like get your LGS together and play this every Friday or something, but it definitely has a place. When I was introducing people to the game, I used to have a mono black Standard Pauper deck and a mono white Standard Pauper deck, and that's how I would introduce people to Magic and teach them how to play.
What era was this in, out of curiosity?
Theros and Ravnica.
So may I ask why exactly you thought a deck which I'm sure was playing Grey Merchant was a good idea to introduce people to Magic?
Well, because the black deck was a control deck, and then the white deck was like an aggro deck. And the white, I mean, they were pretty... the power level wasn't that disparate between them. And I actually got these decks from the PDC Magic website.
Yeah.
These were decks people were playing.
And that's the great thing. Like, I feel because you've got a smaller card pool, it's probably, like 500-600 cards?
Yeah, it's
somewhere in there.
Very small, and then the actual number of playables is, of course, less.
Yeah, but you're working with a small pool. If you're brewing, that at least just knocks a lot of stuff out. Like if you're like, I want to build a white deck, it's like, all right, well, you just knocked out 400 of the 500 cards we've got to play with. Mm-hmm. So make your decisions from there. And I can definitely see it appealing to someone who wants to like brew up a deck for little to no money on Mitgo and just jam a couple games.
Played in a free tournament.
Yeah.
A free Swiss tournament that cut the top 8 in price support. I mean, you cannot beat that value.
Yeah, and again, like, I don't want to harp on this, but there are free card bots that will just give out dirt commons. And every common from recent sets, for the most part, has been bulk. Because, there's not a lot that's great in Pauper, and Pauper doesn't affect Mitgo prices that much.
No,
so,
I would say the main reason that Days and the Blasts were so expensive for so long is because they're playing in Legacy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen spikes in paper. Gorilla Shaman maybe on Motos because of Pauper, but...
well, for example, in paper, Brindleshote is like $4, Chainer's Edict is like $7, and Battle Screech is $4. So, there are definitely spikes related to Pauper. They're much lower in incident, though, I feel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think this is a great way to, like, experience Standard on a budget. And, maybe it is something you introduce at your LGS. Like, it does, especially for owners, have an incentive of, that 10-year-old kid who can't afford a Standard deck. Especially, like, last season's Standard, when it was Cons and Battle. Jeskai Black was the top tier deck of that, one of the top tier decks. That deck cost $1,200 to $1,400.
That's insane. I would never spend that much on a Standard deck.
Exactly. So, little Johnny, who's 10 years old and has, a moderate allowance from his parents, shows up to F&M against some dude who dropped the equivalent of a low-end Legacy deck on Standard and gets obliterated by these 4-color monstrosities. That doesn't leave a great taste in his mouth, and that kid might not like Magic as much after that.
Johnny comes back, and little Johnny now has Goblin Charbelcher.
But, having, like, maybe this is a good way for store owners to organize events for younger kids. I know our local game store, Pat's, runs a new players and kids draft on F&M. It's a little bit before the other events, so they're not in there with all of us older ruffians, and they also do it in they have a secondary building, and it's usually off in that. But maybe this is a great way for a game store to get kids to have a format they can afford easily, because they might not be able to spend that 12, 14 grand on a standard deck, which again is utterly absurd. At the time, it was actually cheaper to buy the entirety of Death and Taxes, a Tier 1 Legacy deck, than buy the Tier 1 Standard deck.
That's sad, man.
So yeah, I think like maybe its home and paper is, for kids.
Yeah, I completely stand by that. And you know something? You really want to know something? If we played Standard Pauper at Pat's, I would play it.
Yeah, I would honestly throw together a Standard Pauper deck just to jam games.
Let me throw this curveball at you. My friend Marshall, hi Marshall, and Scott, hopefully they're listening. Scott said he would listen, so maybe he'll get my shout out. They've been playing Standard Peasant online, and there are no uncommon restrictions. So you just play a deck that's only commons and uncommons.
A lot of people who play those formats refer to them as silver black.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Just so it's a separate term, but
From
yeah,
peasant.
no, yeah.
Okay, well, they're playing Standard Silver Black then, which also seems very fun. They said it's a very fun format.
Okay, so that kind of takes it a little bit more out of the budget range because you got like last season Wild Slash was like a $3 uncommon,
but it's not unreasonable.
Yeah, I think that probably brings you up to like probably a similar price range as Pauper for some of the non-blue decks because
But that's the way I think I would enjoy Standard is playing Silver Black or Pauper. So I would be interested in that. And this makes me want to go play in some of the PDC Magic tournaments now, actually.
Yeah.
And now that I don't have anything to do on Tuesdays, because that's when they do their classic Pauper ones, maybe I'll give it a try.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going off to get married, but I'm gonna have downtime while I'm like not actively being married.
I mean, once you're married, aren't you just actively married? Isn't it a state-based effect?
Oh yes, I think technically, if you look at it, getting married applies on layer 4,
Yeah.
where it's a constant. It's a characteristic defining trait.
It's a super
Excuse me, sir.
I'm glad you got such a kick out of that.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to tell a bad joke about layers in Magic. Like,
You want to screw with the judge? Actually, this doesn't even mess with it anymore because now they train the judges on this question. Ask them how humility and
opalescence work.
Yeah, opalescence work.
That one's an easy one, though.
Well, it is now that we're in the future and people have already gotten judges with that question.
All right. Well, you can always hit them with the how does Mycosynth Lattice, March of the Machines, and Opalescence work together?
Everything dies.
It's a nightmare. It blows up all the lands, and
Yeah, it's terrible.
Enchantments are also artifacts with power equal to their casting cost. Regardless, we got off on a sidetrack, We do that from time to time. We've been doing pretty well. This is the 3rd episode in a row we're recording. So.
Yeah, and actually I think we're doing pretty well, so we hope you guys have been enjoying all this content.
But yeah, Standard Pauper.
Good stuff.
Give it a whirl. Like, they still do print cool stuff in Standard. It's a way to enjoy a rotating format without the commitment of a pile of money every few months.
Exactly. Yeah, the format definitely has a place. It's definitely a contender. It's kind of sad that it's not bigger, honestly.
Yeah.
And I can only chalk that up to what negative connotations or negative assumptions people have about regular Pauper are tenfold for Standard Pauper because the power level is even lower, or so perceived even lower.
Well, so I think part of it, and we've addressed this before, is that when people think of commons, they think of the commons that are currently getting printed. So I feel like what a lot of people think about classic Pauper is they're actually thinking of Standard Pauper, and at the same time, Standard Pauper is actually better than they think because there's still a lot of interaction at the common level because draft, like every set is designed with draft in mind, and you want interesting interactive cards at common.
Yeah, people all play drafts, so whatever.
Yeah,
people are just haters.
I feel like if you draft and you're poo-pooing the idea of Standard Pauper, the only difference here is you're not drafting. Like they're kind of similar in terms of the bulk of your deck. Like in draft, you maybe have like 1-2 bombs in there, but I feel like it's kind of a similar place. Like you can build a solid synergy and go at it. And Also, Wizards has been printing a lot of common dual lands. We got the Khans Gain lands, we had the Guild Gates. So
could happen again.
It could.
Also, look, my Standard Pauper deck had Gary and Treasure Cruise in it. Come on, that is some good stuff.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure everyone at R&D has been told and has told others Treasure Cruise was a mistake. I'm pretty sure no one is ever repeating the mistake of printing Ancestral Recall in Standard. It was a dark time.
Treasure Cruise is so good.
It's so good. That's why it got banned in everything and restricted in Vintage.
Treasure Cruise is such a good card. If you guys didn't play when Treasure Cruise was a thing, even in Pauper, you missed the darker. I was playing maybe the only deck that didn't play Treasure Cruise because I was already playing Thoughtcast.
Yeah, when Treasure Cruise was around,
it was a 4 of in every Pauper deck, basically.
Angler Delver was really, really good. The one that just mills itself until it can delve away stuff. Playing a 5/5 for 1 black and then following it up potentially with Ancestral Recall. That is crazy talk now. But yeah, no, Standard, give Standard Pauper a chance. Maybe we record a video once I'm back of us slinging some Standard Pauper.
We should definitely do that.
I mean, we record on Sundays as is.
On one of the PDC tournaments. Oh my god, this is perfect.
Yeah. Get our name out there.
They're regularly scheduled. We should create a color commentary Moto account.
We could, yeah. Lots of stuff. Lots of
ideas. Yeah, lots of ideas. Yeah, sorry. We both took a moment there.
Yeah. So, for the last segment of the show, I think we're going to actually take an examination of one of these Standard Pauper decks and see kind of what does the last 5-0 from one of the Sunday PDC challenges look like.
And we have a black deck that is basically like
green
a
black.
Rock. Oh,
Yeah.
It's a green black deck. It's basically a rock deck.
It's entitled Green Black You Up, and
well, I wasn't going to say it on the air, Mike, but it's.
Don't worry. I'll put something comedic in there.
We can fix it in post.
People know what it is. So we're looking here. So right now Standard is Dragons of Tarkir, Magic Origins, Battle for Zendikar, Oath of the Gatewatch, and Shadows over Innistrad.
Hoo boy.
Yeah, that's 5 sets worth of content, and there's some spicy stuff in there. So.
Hey everyone, it's Mike, and we had some issues recording the audio on this podcast, and as a result, this whole segment got corrupted. What you're missing out on is a quick deck tech from PDC Magic. We're going to include a link to the deck list that we were discussing, but sadly the audio was completely unsalvageable, just completely garbled. So rather than make you sit through highly unintelligible audio, we're just going to kind of cut this segment short. Apologies. Hopefully this doesn't happen again in the future, so we can make sure that these episodes are enjoyable for all of you. Thanks for bearing with us.
But that's kind of a neat, synergistic, aristocratic control thing.
Yeah, and dovetailing to our previous episode, if you're a heavy brewer, this might be the format for you.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, if your brew's not working out, you can wait 3 months.
Exactly.
And, until then, grind some deck that works, and new set comes out, things change. Every 6 months, format rotates, so, yeah, that seems pretty cool to me. I don't know.
PDCmagic.com. Check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Shout outs to them. And I think, we're going to cut this episode a little bit on the short side, but definitely a good conversation. I want to play Standard Pauper now. It's so weird for me to say. I hate Standard, but I kind of have an interest.
It's two things. One good thing, Pauper. But, yeah. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We're also now on Google Play. and iTunes. If you subscribe to either of those, please leave us a review, a good one, preferably, because it really helps us out. If you didn't like it, tell your enemies so they can come and have a listen and suffer alongside you. If you have an idea for a discussion topic or a deck list, you can either use the contact form on our website or email us directly at colorcommentary@gmail.com. Also, thanks to Elle for the use of his music. You can find the Brick Tape and other great content at soundcloud.com/LLL. And I'm Adrian Warzales.
I'm Michael Petchik.
And we're signing off for Color Commentary.